Good morning, scholars. Today we're going to continue our way through Far's Homeric Greek, continuing to look deeply into the syntax of complex sentences through Smythe. So this will be the first part of our treatment of temporal clauses. So temporal clauses are introduced by conjunctions or relative expressions having the force of conjunctions. And these fall into three different classes. A, denoting time usually the same as that of the principal verb, and so English when or as long as. And then B, denoting time usually prior to that of the principal verb. We might say in English after, as soon as, since, ever since. And then C, denoting time subsequent to that of the principal verb. And then it means until. You have pren meaning until and other expressions. So you have both straightforward conjunctions that fulfill this role, but you also have relative expressions. So that brings us back to the relatives of time that we saw at Smythe 346, where you have, looking in the fourth column, the relative specific when, hote, or henika, at which time. So, to take the example from Xenophon, hote de tauta en, skendon mesai esan nukdes. When this was taking place, it was about midnight. Hote de tauta en, skendon mesai esan nukdes. Or with henika, which tends to be on the poetic side of things. We see this in Euripides' Heracles Furens, and the note from Smythe says, henika, hopenika, have the force of what time, at the moment when, and rarely while, and they are more precise than hote. So from the Heracles Furens, megara, whom with wedding hymns all of Cadmea once with lutes extorted singing, when into my house that illustrious Heracles did her lead. So megaran, hen pantes humenaioisi cadmeoi pote, lotoi sune la laxan, henike semus domus, ho klenos Heracles nin hegeto. So here we see not only henika, but we see pote, the indefinite, when at one time, once upon a time, coordinated with it. And that's in accord with our next slide. So you often have demonstrative adverbs in the principal clause often correspond to the relative conjunctions. And so here we even have an indefinite relative corresponding, or yes, working in correspondence with the relative conjunction. But so you often see hote, tote, in hoi, in tutoi, heos, teos, or heos, makretutu. But also you'll see epe, tote, and hos or hote in tauta, and other combinations. So these mark the balancing out of clauses, and they contribute a great bit to the clarity and elegance and balance of the phrasing of the Greek. So in this example from Herodotus, when we were stationed in assistance at the Isthmus against the returning exiles, then, the story has it, that Hylas announced that. So, epe, ekbo etesantes eston isthmon his dometa, antiu toise katiuse, tote, on, logos, ulon, agoreuastai hos. Now, so we have epe, when, tote, at that time, and don't be confused by this on, because it is the ionic equivalent of omicron, upsilon, nu, with the smooth breathing. this is just the Ionic version of that. But anyways, when we were stationed in assistance at the isthmus against the returning exiles, then, the story has it, that Hylas announced that, so epe, ekbo ete santes, eston ithmon, his dometa, antiu toise katiuse, tote on logos este, hulon agoreu estai hos, ... So, as we saw in the first slide, we have time same as, time before, and time subsequent to. And so we'll see a bunch of examples of each of those. So first off, A, denoting time usually the same as that of the principal verb, you have the conjunctions hote, hopote, henika, hopenika, meaning when, hosakis, as often as, heos, mekri, hoson chronon, as long as, and then heos, enhoi, while. So a lot of conjunctions to deal with, but these are easily mastered as one just reads one's Greek. I can't even offhand think of when I've ever seen hosakis, but it's probably going past my eyes in Herodotus or somewhere else strange. But nevertheless, to get to the examples. Hotatalta ein skindon mesai esan nuktes. We've already seen that. While these things were going on, it was about midnight. So, hote. And then henika. Henika dedele egeneto epane koniotos. But when it was getting on to be afternoon, a dust cloud appeared. Henika dedele egeneto epane koniotos. And then some more examples. En hoi oplizdonto, hekon hoi skopoi. While they were arming, the scouts came. En hoi hoplizdonto, hekon hoskopoi. And then from Demosthenes, while there is opportunity, take our public policy in hand. Heos este kairos, antilabeste ton pragmaton. And then moving to instances where denoting time usually prior to that of the principal verb, we have epe, epede, after that, which can less exactly be translated when. I'd say epe and epede are the most common ones you'll see. And then you also see epe proton, hos or epe takista, epede takista, which means as soon as, and then ex hu or ex hon, ex hotu, op hu, since, ever since, and also simply hos, when, as soon as, since. So in this first example, but after he came out, he announced to his friends how the trial of Orontas had resulted. So, epidexelten, apengele tois bilois, ten krisen, tu Oronta hos egenoto. And so here we have an example where the aorist stands actually for the pluperfect. We say, reading Smythe 1943, the aorist with many temporal and causal conjunctions, and in relative clauses, has the force of the English pluperfect. So often with epe, epede, after that since, hote, hos, and even hote because. And it's regularly with pren, eos, and mekri, meaning before or until. Okay. And then more examples denoting time usually prior to that of the principal verb. After Darius died, Tissaphernes slandered Cyrus. So epe de etelute se dareos, Tissaphernes diabale ton chiron. So as we saw, in English we might even be tempted to translate after Darius had died, but Greek will just have the aorist eteleutese for what English might want to translate as a pluperfect, after he had died. And then the next example, as soon as it was daylight, they sacrificed. Hos takista eos upe paine etuonto. Hos takista heos upe paine etuonto. As soon as it was daylight, as soon as daylight came up, they sacrificed. And then more examples denoting time usually prior. Ex who, we have ex who, which actually means since or ever since. And so the first example, ever since Philip pretended to be friendly, from that time he has deceived you. And this is from Demosthenes. Ex who, bilos enai pros oi etai, ex tutu humas ex epateke. So, ever since Philip pretended to be friendly, ex who bilos enai pros poi etai, ex tutu, from that time, humas ex epateken, from that time he has deceived you. And then famously, as we've seen from the opening bit, lines 7 and 8 of Book 1 of the Iliad, ex hudeta prota, diaste teneresante, atre ides tevanax andron, kai diasakilius. From the precise time when the two quarreled in strife, the son of Atreus, that lord of men, and glorious Achilles. Ex hudeta prota, diaste teneresante, atre ides tevanax andron, kai diasakilius. And then C, we have denoting time, temporal clauses denoting time subsequent to that of the principal verb. So here we look for heos, este, makri, makriu, and archiu, followed by a finite verb. So, emenon heos apikonto hoi strategoi. They waited until the generals arrived. Emenon heos apikonto hoi strategoi. And then they kept reviling Soteridas until they forced him to march on. So loidoruse ton soteridan este enakasan por euesthai, until they forced him to march on. And then again, more examples denoting time subsequent. And they kept doing this until darkness came on. Kai tauta epoiun, mekri skotos egeneto. Kai tauta epoiun, mekri skotos egeneto. Or, she released the Greeks from slavery so that they would be free until they enslaved themselves. Tous men Helenas, aute, apelusato, douleas, host, eleuterus enai, mekri, hu, balen, autoi, autus, kata doulosonto. until they themselves would enslave themselves. So notice autoi hautus, the rough breathing on the second, hautus, that's the reflexive pronoun. Mekri hu palen, autoi autus kata du lo santo, until they enslaved themselves. Palen, again, once more. Now, finally, well, not finally, but Smythe has a note on Homer, and this will illuminate something we've already looked at in Book 1. He says Homer has opera, which can also be final, es hote and es ha, and those two can have ke. Herodotus has es ho, heos u, and es hu, until. Hopote, with the optative in Homer after a past tense of a verb of waiting or expecting, means waiting or expecting for the time when, and este, first appearing in Hesiod, is rare in lyric, tragedy, Herodotus, and Plato, but very common in Xenophon. So that's kind of amusing that Xenophon would reach back and grab this conjunction that's first found in Hesiod, but pretty much neglected otherwise. Mekri is avoided by the orators. However, both Mekri and Akri can be found with the articular infinitive in Demosthenes. Finally, teos for heos is rare. So this array of conjunctions is, there are quite a few of them and they can get confusing. So it's good to have these, to know where these points are in Smythe so you can refer and realize the ones you've seen, the ones you know, and be aware of the ones you've yet to see. So looking back at that bit from Calchas' speech in Book 1 of the Iliad, Kreson gar basilius, hote kos setai andri kerei, e per gate kolonge kai autema katapepse, alatekai metapisten eke koton, opera telese. So, all the same, he holds back his rage, his anger, his resentment until opera telese, until it can complete itself. Okay. Now, you have the added complications that some of these temporal conjunctions also can denote cause. And we'll have a video coming up on causal clauses, but you have to watch out for hote, hopote, epe, eute, poetic, epede, meaning since or whereas, hos, meaning because. Hos also means as or as to, and rarely in prose, in order that. Heos in Homer has in part become a final conjunction, as we've already seen. But it's just important to realize that some of these temporal conjunctions can do double duty and indicate cause as well. Now, this final point is a very subtle one that I only actually recently encountered, but Smythe 2386. A temporal sentence and a conditional sentence may occur in close conjunction without a marked difference of signification. Now, his example is really good because you have hotan and etan right in successive clauses. And so this translates whenever and then if ever, and that works quite fine. But whenever they fall ill, they are saved by regaining their health. And if ever any calamity overtakes them, the recovery that follows is to their benefit. So from Antiphon, hotan de nausesosen, hugies genomenoi sosdontai, ean de tesale sumpora catalambane autus, ta in antia epignomena onenesen. So whenever, if ever, those work together, but without a marked difference of significance, the temporal and the conditional sentences. Well, like I say, I only very recently came across this when I was rereading Book 2 of the Republic, and came across Glaucon's famous account of the origins of justice, where he's building on the idea proposed by Thrasymachus in Book 1. And you see that I've marked epedon, aeon, eon. This is an example where epedon, the temporal, and then aeon, the conditionals, are in close proximity without much of a difference of meaning. Well, when I was reading this, I was trying to read them kind of rather rigidly as temporal and conditionals respectively, and just couldn't make sense of it until I discovered the section in Smythe. So going through the whole passage is a bit too much, so we'll just look at the sentences themselves that are of where these are occurring. So you have Glaucon saying, Hoste epedon alelus adikose te kai adikontai, kai ampoteron ge uontai, tois me dunamenois, tomen epugain to de hyrein, doke lusetelein, sun testai alelois, mate adikain, mate adikestai. So this goes, Hoste epedon alelus adikosen te kai adikontai, kai ampoteron guontai. And whenever, or if, or whenever, they harm and are harmed by one another, and get a taste of both being harmed and harming. Tois me dunamenois, to those who are not able, on the one hand, tomen ek pugain to de hyrein, who are on the one hand not able to escape the one, i.e. being done wrong to, or to get the other, doing injustice. To them, these people who are unable, doke lusatelein, sun testai alelus, mate adikain, mate adikestai. It seems beneficial to these people who are unable to avoid or inflict wrong to make deals with one another, to come to an agreement with one another, neither to do wrong or to allow or suffer wrong. So this is the wonderful original statement of what ultimately Nietzsche will celebrate in his second essay in the Genealogy of Morals as, slave morality, the morality of the weak, because this is the tois me dunamenois, those who are unable to escape, to get away with or to avoid suffering. They will come up with all these rules that say it's bad. And later Glaucon would say, no one who could get away with it would ever make such rules. So, but then it continues, kai legusen, and they say, ena de tautan genesente kai usi andi kai osunes. And they say that this is the origin and the essence of justice, being usan, metazu usan, tu men aristu ontos, being between what's best, that is, aeon adikon me dido dikain, what's best when you are able to do wrong and not suffer for it and not pay the price, aeon adikon me dido dikain, and between what's best and what's worse, aeon adikumenos timoresthai adunatos a, when one has suffered wrong to be unable to avenge oneself. So this bit, this bit that opens up the second book of the Republic, and the Republic as a whole, since scholars would generally agree that the first book was a separate dialogue, and then Plato came back to it after he'd written the Gorgias and orchestrated his greatest of all works. This is just an amazing little passage, and it's a wonderful place to see this Smythe 3686 at work. A temporal sentence and a conditional sentence may occur in close conjunction without marked difference of signification. But needless to say, it's a little hard to make this an example in a grammar book because it doesn't hang together as well as Smythe's example, chosen example, does. But nevertheless, it's wonderful to know and be aware of. Okay, so speaking of wonderful, this is me on a hot summer day in Greece. This is actually the citadel at Mycenae. So this would have been the citadel at Agamemnon and Atreus' palace, and a wonderful bright day there. Okay, so have a good day, and I will see you again soon. Keep working hard. We are really in the final stretch of grammar exposition here. So congratulations on your effort and progress to this point. Okay, goodbye.